Your search is over. You found Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on Sirius XM 204. Now listen up for Winformation.
We absolutely love having our next guest in studio. From the Las Vegas Advisor, Anthony Curtis joins the program today live in studio. Good to see you again, man. How are you?
I'm good. You guys? Good?
Doing really well. Where does the madness rank for you, by the way? Overall, in terms of calendar year here in Las Vegas and how busy it is and how great the action can be.
For actually betting it, I don't bet it a lot. I bet I don't. I was listening to you guys talking about the futures and all. I don't have a single future. I will bet matchups and things when the thing gets going. I like the later rounds actually. Everyone likes the earlier rounds. I like the later rounds after you've seen it. So I'll be playing, but for fun, I mean it's the best. It's that first weekend is the absolute best. No matter how busy I am, I take myself to a sports book and sit down and watch it and take it in.
You kind of have to. Generally, the first 4 days also it falls on St. Patty's Day.
Right.
So you need another excuse for guys to come here and get absolutely bombed, but it's not. It's a week later this year.
Yeah, careful out there with the amateurs from out of state. But, other than that, it is fun. That first weekend there's nothing like it.
Yep. Let's get into this. Okay, so headline here: 2 pro gamblers at Harrah's were wrongly prosecuted. And from the story, this is from Illinois. 2 men who identify themselves in court papers as pro gamblers have filed a civil lawsuit at the Will County Courthouse against Caesars Entertainment, Harrah's in Illinois. State Police Officer David Standek and the Illinois Gaming Board for false arrest and malicious prosecution. Can you give our listeners and our viewers kind of a breakdown of what happened here and what exactly went wrong?
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive about this, but I think this is the case that I was talked to about being an expert witness. So whether it's this case or not, it was a very similar case. This stuff happens a lot more than you would think. Essentially what you had is a situation where the casino made an error with their programming on the machines. Again, my apologies to the people involved if I'm not talking about their case, but anyway, it kind of goes across lines here. The machines were overpaying. I understand it. It was something really, really funky. That if you played a certain sequence, the machines would start paying out like at the dollar rate for quarters or for nickels or something like that. I believe that's what was happening in this case. It may not be so, but I believe that was what was happening. Anyway, these guys found it. They played it. They won a bunch of money. The casinos discovered it afterwards, and then, that's where their trouble started, trying to say they were doing something wrong. In my opinion, if I'd have been testifying there, I'd have been saying, what are you doing wrong? If you're playing a game, it spits out the money, you take the money. What are you going to do there? But that's not why I was asked to go. I was asked to speak because they were trying to make a case, testify. They were trying to make a case that these guys had inside information. And I said, I doubt it. They just found it. And the other side was saying, how is that possible? How could you just run into this odd thing? They don't understand what guys do out there. Guys go in there with the microscopes looking for opportunities. And I've seen it over and over again. And I'm pretty sure that's what went down here.
And then they have all this money that when they're driving back in the rental car, they get pulled over and the cops confiscate the money?
Yeah.
You drug dealers? What do you look at all this cash?
Well, there were a lot of levels of things going on here. We'll get to that in 1 second. The other thing was structuring. This is something that people who play out there for big money have to realize. That structuring is something that can get you in a lot of trouble. That means that you are cashing out your money, your checks, whatever your winnings, in a way that you don't have to fill out CTRs.
Oh.
Which is cash transaction reports and things like that. So what they're doing is coming in under the reporting limits, whether it was $2,500 for a suspicious or whether it was $10,000 for a regular CTR. What it turns out here, I think, is that they kind of couldn't, the way things were structured there, the way they had to cash out, it was coming in itself underneath these levels. So the casino is really kind of like wrong on all counts in this situation. But you have to be very careful. Structuring now you're getting into, and that's not just in casinos, that's in the world of banking and all. You start screwing with the IRS and their reporting, and you can get in a lot of trouble. So gamblers out there, at whatever level you're playing, you have to be careful about possible structuring. Now, once they got picked up on the outside, now we're getting into another realm where you're talking about, law enforcement and the cops in this particular area who all of a sudden discovered a whole bunch of money and said, we're going to take that money. And that's another problem that gamblers have, that pros have, is how do you transport money? Because, the police are mostly good, but they're not all good. And, their job is to confiscate money and take it and try to keep it and win it in a court case. And it happens to gamblers all the time because they figure nobody's going to care.
How many times will the gamblers get the money back?
They get it back often.
Do they really?
But with a lot of time gone and a lot of money spent with attorney's fees and things like that. I mean, look at Billy Walters. Billy Walters is a very good example. Billy Walters was harassed over and over and over again where they would raid his places and take his dough. And he would eventually, and with Walters, we were talking about millions of dollars. So, of course, it was worth it. But he went through years and years and years of court cases and costs. Well, he could afford it. But a lot of guys who are walking around with hundreds of thousands of dollars or $100,000 or more, and they get that taken away, that might be their whole bankroll. And it could be a year or 2 years before they ever get it back. And sometimes they just settle and take portions of it.
I'm sorry. Boy, does that story stink. Oh, they pulls them over because about a signal. Oh, you got 400,000 in the car? Oh, I didn't know. Oh, well, give me that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
And that's what they do. They just say they free roll. It's a free roll. They can do it legally, and maybe there is something dirty about it, and maybe they do get to keep that money. And I mean, that's kind of their job, like writing tickets. They're supposed to make money. I mean, and gamblers are targeted.
Well, so there's got to be more to the story though, where if they're gonna pull this car over because of a signal, right, the turn signal, that automatically gives the cops like a warrant to search their car and say, hey, look at this, man, tons of cash, let's take it, it's ours.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I've read on this particular case, the police eventually admitted that it wasn't about a signal, that they had information to pull these guys over and check them out and find the money. So, I mean, again, this is all part of, this is going back to the stigma of gamblers with lots of money, right? It must be dirty. You must be a bad guy. You must have been doing something wrong. And you're like, no, I'm a pro. I use mathematics. I use my head. I can beat the casinos. I need money to make money. This is how I work. And people don't buy it.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, how many times have we talked to you about guys that will go out, the pros, right? And they will scout casinos wherever it is.
Yeah.
And they'll look at everything.
Well, remember I told you guys, I think it was on the last show, about the guys who used to get in the RV. And they drive all around. Every time a new place would open anywhere in the country, they would get in the RV and they'd drive there no matter where it was. So, I mean, they didn't want to fly there. Another reason is you don't want to go with lots of cash through airports and stuff. So that was another reason. But they would all go together in this RV and they would descend upon a place and they would just go over it with a fine-tooth comb and a microscope. They would try everything. They would play at different levels. They see what the machines do. They see if it's misprogrammed. They see if somebody put in bad pay schedules that they can beat over time. And more often than not, they find beatable situations.
Yep, and this is disgusting. You nailed it. Richard Munchkin has said it before. This is the new free roll, what casinos do.
Yeah.
Well, if you lose, okay, we keep the money. If you win, we'll fight you and we won't pay you and we'll fight you about it.
Yeah, a lot of it is, people don't really understand that it's the mentality of the guys who are running the joints. By the joints, I mean the casinos. A lot of them just don't understand. Some of them who do understand that these guys are really smart players, they'll give them a pass and say, okay, look, we don't want you here anymore, but we're not going to hassle you. Okay. Most guys don't have that, and girls, women who work these places don't have that opinion. They're working 8-hour days for their money, and they see these guys coming in as, interlopers and thieves. And I used to say that for forever. When I got into kind of jump to the other side, where all of a sudden I'm doing interviews and I'm talking about casinos and I'm casino friendly and all that, it took a long time before a lot of them could accept me in the executive offices. They were going like, that guy's he's a thief, he's a bandit, he's a pirate. I mean, we don't want to do business with these guys until that, and then we finally got over that stigma. But it is a stigma that when you've made money that way, people look at it, there's jealousy involved, there's misunderstanding involved, and you're an easy mark.
Oh, God. How many of the times you've had to testify, has it ever backfired? Because they don't really know what they're getting into with you.
Backfired, well,
the prosecution.
Well, if I've done it or people like me who are knowledgeable in an area are asked to do it, we pretty much know our stuff better than they do. So it doesn't backfire really. I mean, it ends up working out the way we're supposed to. I mean, you usually get a judge. You have to explain it and break it down and bring it down to lowest terms, and you'll get a judge who will understand, and it usually works out pretty well. And that's why they do that. That's why certain guys in the business are asked to do this. I don't like doing it because it takes a lot of preparation, and it's I'll do it for friends. If a friend's got a problem, I will go and testify. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the last time I was asked, I was supposed to go in front of gaming control to testify for a guy, and when I got there, they wouldn't let me in. They just said no. Gaming just said no. We're not going to listen to what he has to say.
What?
And the attorney was Bob Nersessian, who handles all these things. You've probably had Bob on the show.
He's been on.
I'm Bob's publisher. Bob calls me in the middle of the day. He goes, "Can you come down and address gaming right now?" I go, "Who's it for?" And he told me, the guy, I go, I don't know him. I'm really busy. And I go, who's it against? And he told me, I won't say it. I go, I hate them. I'll go do it. So,
Beautiful.
So I went down there to testify against what this casino had done. And when I got there, they took all my credentials and everything. And the attorney came out, and their session came out and said, they're not going to let you in.
Oh, my God.
So, you know,
Wow.
it's interesting. It's interesting.
It's Follow the Money, Sirius XM 204, fuboTV. Anthony Curtis, Las Vegas advisor, is our guest. We have a lot to get into with you. Before we step aside here for a minute, show the book that you brought in today, Tax Help for Gamblers, and explain why this can be a very useful read for people.
Well, first of all, this is the only book of its kind. There have been several books about gambling and taxes, and you know what we were just talking about. We were talking about confiscation of money and things, but you also get into situations where the IRS will try to confiscate your money, if you've won or whatever. If you've, at whatever level of a player you are, if you're a pro, you absolutely need to understand how it works with taxes. But even if you are a tourist or a recreational player who happens to go on a winning streak or, wins X amount of money or hits a jackpot or whatever, now you're going to have tax consequences. So, years ago, we said, man, the world could use a book on gambling and taxes. And we put it together about maybe a dozen years ago or so, and this is now in its 4th edition. It's gotten better and better. There's 3 authors there. One of them is Gene Scott, who's written many, many books on gambling, and 2 of them are enrolled agents who really understand. Okay. So this is something people should read.
Very good.
It'll put you to sleep at night, too.
Tax Help for Gamblers, Poker, and Other Casino Games. You can go get it today. Anthony Curtis, more with him coming up next. We have to get into what MGM plans to do with their drinks and how they're going to maybe replace bartenders coming up beginning 2020 here in Nevada. And a guy who was living in California had to forfeit $90,000 that he won playing online in New Jersey. Anthony will explain coming up next.
It's been between 2 and 3 minutes. You know what that means. It must be time for more Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on Sirius XM 204.
Live in Vegas from the South Point Sportsbook. We continue now. Anthony Curtis joins us in studio, Las Vegas advisor. How many guys, by the way, side note, have you known in your years here in Las Vegas that caught a beating in a casino?
I've known several. Several, yeah. I mean, I actually am really good friends with the guys who got the worst one, the one at the back of Binion's, where the one guy went to the hospital, almost died. His name's Alan Brown. And there were 2 guys, Alan Brown and Barry Finn. And that beating, in the back of Binion's, that beating is kind of almost put an end. It didn't put a complete end to it, but that's when all the casinos got together and said, we got to stop doing this because somebody almost died. But I've known a lot of guys since then. What you get is like rogue security guys. We call them cowboys. You get a cowboy, and he didn't care about the rules, and he just wants to go and break some heads that day. And if they get you back there, anything can happen, even though it's lessened a lot. But yeah, I've known a lot of guys that have gotten roughed up pretty good.
Yeah, cracking skulls, huh? That's what that guy's all about. Cowboys. Yeah. That's what they always want to do.
Look at they were bad. They were tough guys, and the Cowboys. They were there to fight. And I never went back. Every opportunity they had to take me, I absolutely categorically refused, or I ran away like a big sissy. I wanted no part of it.
Smart getting out of there.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Literally ran away. Broke into a run to get out, and I want nothing to do with it.
Would you try to find a side door, or would you hit like the front entrance to get on the boulevard?
You basically always knew where your outs were.
Yeah.
When you go into a place, especially if you went into a place like off the beaten track. We used to do that a lot. I say we. This is a group that I played with. Again, not bandits, everything within the law. We never did a single thing that was outside the law, ever. Not once. Nobody wanted to go to jail. So we always wanted a position that we could back up. But, we got into a lot of hassles with them. And we would drive, through Nevada, through the back towns and all. So you end up in Ely or Jackpot or something like that, and you go into a place. The first thing you look for is how do you get out if you need to, and, what's the plan?
There's been some nice scores here in the last week, or since the last time we talked to you. $1.5 million at the Buffalo game at the Suncoast. Mm-hmm. And $1 million jackpot, Royal Flush, Caribbean Stun at the Venetian.
Yeah, that's nice.
And the Pai Gow here, South
Pai Gow here last week.
Straight flush.
That was the question of the day. LVA_tweet, Las Vegas advisor. Odds on a 7-card straight flush dealt.
Yeah, what was it, like 680,000 to 1 or something like that, or 648,000 to 1, something along those lines. Here's the situation on that. In order to win those things, you've got to be betting the side bets. Uh-huh. And the side bets typically have a lot of juice, in it for the casinos. So on that particular side bet, I didn't look into all the rules on it and what they were paying, but it's typically at like a 4 to 7% edge. And that's pretty, that's big edge. That's a big edge. That's more than roulette. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So you're paying to get there, but that's how dreams are made, right? And what's interesting about the side bets too, the progressives, is that every one of them potentially can hit a break-even point, and then become positive. So again, I didn't look at that particular one. It may have been a positive play, for the guy who was doing it. You don't really chase those things much because even if you've got the edge, you still got to crack that big one at those ridiculous odds to get it. And it's slow number of trials. So it doesn't really pan out that you're going to do that. Well, okay, I'll play this for 19 years until I hit it, and make my money. So it's not really something that the pros would necessarily go after. But if you're sitting around having fun and you see one that's positive, you can justify playing it, for a little bit of action.
What was your biggest score?
Mine?
Yeah, was it a blackjack night session or?
I think the biggest one ever was a crap tournament. I won like $125,000 on one pop. This was in Atlantic City.
Okay.
And this was a funny one too because they didn't like me there. And what we would do is we would infiltrate these things, and we would go in and we would act like we were just squares coming into play. And we give them a lot of action on the outside, but always with an edge. We'd be playing something that we were at least break even at, but we wanted to get into those tournaments. And I made my way to the final table, and right before the finals, a guy came up and started giving me a big hassle about who I was and that I shouldn't have been there and so forth. I says, "You invited me. You invited me here. I did everything I was supposed to do. I fair and squarely got here." And it was a ramming jamming table, man. It was unbelievable. And the way I had to win it, I had to have on the table, I had to have an 8 followed by a 7. It's the only way I could win. Bam, 8-7. All right, 2 rolls, boom, boom, because it was a 7-out tournament. I needed to hit my 8 first. It was the only number on the table open. There was money all over the place. Hit my 8, got to a point where I could go behind, and I needed the 7 to 7 out and win on the backside. And all that money comes back to me, right? It hits boom, boom, and I just was like, I was dazed. And then I looked at the guy and I said, "Pay me, pay me." I mean, I started jumping around like a maniac because I was caught up in the moment.
But that rush right there.
But I realized that these guys hated the fact that I just won. And I started jumping up and down. I was like, "Who won? Look who won."
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to pay me. And I mean, I never got invited back.
That's right.
See that. What do you know about this story where a guy who was living in California, this goes back to, I think, 2014, at Borgata and Caesars with their online casinos, and he took advantage gambling, living in California.
Right.
With geolocation where we're at right now, I mean, and security, right, and firewalls, whatever else. Somehow he was able to win $90,000, but he had to forfeit all the money.
Yeah, he was using some kind of like a proxy relay of some sort, which a lot of guys were doing to play poker. They were like pinging up to Canada and then coming back, so their signal was coming out of Canada so they could play. I don't have a lot of sympathy for this guy. I mean, he's breaking the rules.
Yeah, big time.
He's breaking the rules and he knows it. He's taking a chance. I mean, it's kind of rotten that he did well and then wasn't able to keep it and got caught, but that's a chance you take on that. Like I said, we didn't break rules. So we always had a position to stand to get paid. I don't know what this guy's position is. He was doing something illegal that he was not supposed to do. Now, illegal is a stupid illegal law. I mean, why should that be a crime? This is crazy, right?
I agree.
But it was.
It is, and he clearly committed a major violation.
As far as I know. Now, again, it's interesting. You never know until you know. We used to always say, again, we used to, but I mean, that's my point of reference. It was tough playing on the team, right? Because when you made the finals, you've got some of the best experts in the world who are your partners critiquing your play. They're watching every move you make. And like, if you screw up, it's their money on the line and you get off and like, why did you do that? You're on the hot seat. Why did you do that? We've talked about this, whatever. But we also had a saying, don't judge. If you weren't in the seat, don't judge until you've heard from the guy who was in the seat. Because he'd come off and go, why did you do that? And the guy would go, something brilliant like, because this happened and nobody knew it and I saw it and you're like, oh man, that was that was great. So you never know either. I mean, who knows exactly what's going on with this case completely? But from the surface, from what we can see, this guy broke the law. Sorry, you don't get paid.
Okay, very good. Anthony Curtis, our guest, Las Vegas advisor. Follow the money. Pauly and Mitch, fuboTV, VEASAN. There's been an outrage here lately. How about card counting by casinos? and preferential shuffling.
Yeah, preferential shuffling has been going on since Noah started dealing blackjack way back on the Ark. It happens essentially in handheld games where you've got a guy who's dealing, you've got a dealer who knows something about counting cards. And he may be good, he may be not, but he's got an idea of how to, card counting is a lot more than just being able to track where the status of the deck. You've got to know how to make the proper departures from basic strategy and how to play your hands and so forth, bet properly, etc. But some guys know enough to know when the deck is rich and better for the player. So because they're bored or because they're house guys or because they're instructed to do so, and it doesn't happen, it's not rampant, but I'm just saying it does happen. They'll be counting as they're playing. They see that the count is good, it's good for the player, and all of a sudden they shuffle early. They shuffle away the advantage. And so there's the big question is that cheating? Is that cheating by the casino? And the casinos go, well, if a customer can do it, or the casinos who argue for it, they say if the customers can do it, then why can't the casino? Well, because the casinos are mandated to play a certain way and to deal a random game. And it becomes no longer random when they are choosing when to shuffle.
Yes.
If they have a set shuffle point and they always shuffle there, no matter whether it's positive or negative, then they're dealing this random game. But their moves, the player has options. So the player can do things. The casino has no options. The casino has rules and needs to follow them. So preferential shuffling, you can't beat it. Now, here's what's insidious about it. It doesn't hurt the pro because the pro sees it. The minute they shuffle, you go, okay, this is going on. Okay, adios.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't know. So the other customer, the casual customer, the vacationer, the recreational gambler, he has no idea.
Oh, no
He's
clue.
not counting cards. So he's playing into the jaws of a really nasty game. It's not fair. But it does happen. And it's not policy anywhere that I know. But there are certain guys who will do it on a handheld deck.
Good
Great
breakdown.
explanation. Yes. So last time you came on, and people love you, your breakdown about the bean counters and what Vegas is doing here with resort fees and it's getting worse. Now I see Palazzo, $100 late checkout fee. Saki Rock, 22% service charge for drinks on the terrace.
Well, don't go to the terrace.
Out by the T-Mobile where the Golden Knights play, guy here in town got it like 3 drinks or whatever. There was a $6.30 fee.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was
service charge,
service fee just for that, and then taxes on top of that.
Yeah, well, that's what with Las Vegas Advisor. That's what we do. We go look for those things. So we're acutely aware. I'm acutely aware of those things. I look at it. What are you going to charge me here? But again, the average customer is going to a thing like this, to a game, or I think these were vendors on the way into T-Mobile. I'm not sure if it was in T-Mobile.
No, on the way in, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so you got to be real careful and look at your bill. And when they charge you, you got to say, no thanks. Really, here's your beer back. Yeah. I'm not paying that. If you see something outrageous like that. But most people, A, they don't pay attention, or B, they're embarrassed to do that. I can easily do that. I did that in the grocery store the other day.
Did you?
I bought these shrimp or something, and the guy goes, $72. No, I see it, $72 for a pound of shrimp. I go, how much is that? $72. I was about to put it back. He goes, yeah, that's how much, but with a discount, it's $23. So that's their advertising. It was $72, and it was on sale, so it was $23. But I was ready to push it back, and you got to do the same thing. With these vendors, they give you. They give you some kind of outrageous bill. You just push it back at them. The casinos now, they're going to charge you $100 for a late checkout. That you just argue. You just call somebody in and say, wait a minute, I was not made aware.
Sure.
And honestly, I think, 8, 9 times out of 10, you can get that reversed. But it's just, if they can get away with it, rip and tear, right? Just plain rip and tear, and they'll take it.
So this city has changed so much since I moved out here in 2001. I don't even think you could measure how much the city has changed since, forget the 70s, the 90s or whatever, it's completely different. Right. And for those coming out for March Madness and maybe have not been here for a while, they're going to see increases big time across the board, wherever they're going to be staying for food, drinks, resort fees, all this kind of stuff. But looking ahead to August of this year, because this is the new thing for MGM and their properties, it's called MGM 2020, how they are changing at all their properties now. And are they going to comp drinks at all anymore? Is it only if you're a member of the loyalty rewards program? And they're actually going to get rid of bartenders. They're going to have machines where the cocktail servers go up and hit a button and it's going to make the drink for them? Yeah, you might have to inform me on this, because I've been hearing this. I don't see the tie-in between comp drinks and having automatic bartenders, having robo bartenders or whatever it is they're going to do.
As much as I am, I'm always in here, railing against the man, the casinos and all of that. I don't, and MGM, in my opinion, is the most mercenary of them all. They hit the hardest. They grab and dig, and I think they're the most mercenary casino company there is. But I'm not against them on this one that much. I mean, and I don't. This may sound insensitive. I'm not thinking about jobs and stuff. I'm not really. I'm thinking, I reckon a bartender can go get a job. I don't worry about that too much. They're taking advantage of technology, and they're doing what they think is right. Now, I don't see the correlation of where that's going to affect comp drinks. I've heard that a couple of times. I don't understand where that one applies to the other.
Well, evidently, yeah, you are still gonna be able to get them, according to one of the stories that came out this week. Again, but if you are a member of the rewards program.
Well, maybe if they stop comping drinks, that would be the next logical progression here. Mm-hmm. Look, what was the basic comp? What was the one? Everybody comes to Vegas and they want what? They want to be treated special. They reckon they're going to lose money. They know they're going to go home probably with less than they came from, but it's cool to be treated special. And what does that mean? That means a comp. What do people brag about? I got comped.
Yeah,
I lost a bunch of money, but I got this great price on this and I got comped. All right, well, what was the first comp? The comp that everybody got in Vegas? Free parking.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Right? So they took away the fundamental first comp. What's the second level comp? Free drinks. If they're going to start taking away free drinks, it's already happening on certain degrees in the bars. I mean, take PTs. PTs pubs, there's 80 of them almost in all around Nevada, most of them in Las Vegas. They're great places. Man, these guys know how to run a bar, right? But they are stingy on video poker comps. They watch you very closely. You're on a pitch count. You're kind of like on a pitch count for getting drinks. And so that's starting to spread. And if that starts going into the casinos, eventually, again, people are going to get sick and tired of it. And they're going to say, I ain't going there next year. I don't know what the casinos are doing.
All hell break loose. Now, I understand it's done in other places, and you're not going to have the overpour because it's precise with that. But I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be a Saturday night, and the thing's going to break down. And then the cocktail waste my heart. We got to call somebody. What am I going to do? Hey, you can't get a drink because the damn machine's broken.
Well, I'll tell you this. Here's another thing in their defense. And I've been told this by a lot of inside F&B guys, food and beverage guys, that a lot of these changes that you see, a lot of it's just about saving money, but a lot of it's about preventing theft. Machines don't steal. And I mean, that's the way it is. Bartenders and service people, not all of them, but there's a group of them that take money. And it's a problem. And so a lot of this automation has to do with preventing theft. So I'm a guy like Pound, take MGM to the woodshed, but I don't see this as being horrible.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Follow the money, Sirius XM 204. We have to, a little bit more here with Anthony Curtis coming up. We'll get to In Pocket and also tell you about a book. Somebody here from VSiN has a book coming out. We'll tell you about that coming up next.
And we're back with more Follow the Money on Sirius XM 204. Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard have the mics for the information you need to
time
win.
for In Pocket here. Pauly 1-0 yesterday. I was 1-1-1. I'm going to put this theory to the test tonight. Two-leg parlay that paid plus 195 when I locked it in earlier today. Southern Illinois. They're laying 2.5 earlier this morning against Northern Iowa. Missouri State against Bradley as well. I'm taking both those teams on the money line tonight on a two-leg parlay.
Winner with the Penguins last night, riding the Capitals. They've been good to us. Tied for first place. The Devils are a minor league outfit. All these trades, they've been horrendous. Laid the puck line with the Capitals. Curtis has never been dealt the Royal? I can't believe it.
Never been dealt the Royal.
I'm shocked by that.
I've played, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of hands. I've never been dealt a Royal.
Wow, what an upset.
Do you have any idea how many Royal flushes you've hit?
Oh, I've hit a lot. I've hit many. Hundreds. But I mean,
Bob Dancer said he's hit probably 2,000 plus.
Yeah, Bob Dancer. Nobody's in Bob Dancer's. Me,
Right.
I'm a peon. I'm a speck on Bob Dancer's rear end when it comes to that, man.
I've hit one. Lived here since 01. I've hit one.
Hit one Royal?
Crazy.
One
That's
Royal.
Crazy.
You've won.
It makes me so bitter. I don't even want to play.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mitch. Don't feel so bad. This is a true story. I went through the most epic period when video poker first came out. I mean, back in the '80s, and I started playing. I didn't play anywhere near as much as I probably played in other years, but I went. This is going to kill you. I went 11 years without a Royal, and I was playing a lot.
What?
I went 11 years without a Royal, and when I finally hit a Royal, it was a short pay nickel game. It wasn't even paying the full amount for a Royal because it was a Family Feud game that I was writing a story about. So I had to play Family Feud, and I finally hit after 11 years. I hit a Royal. And it paid me something like $18. But then it all then it turned around. And all of a sudden, boom, boom.
Snowball went downhill at that point.
Believe me, I did not catch up for those 11 years.
No.
Yeah,
but
right.
I went 11 years, so don't feel too bad.
Okay, so you're also a publisher, and Anthony Curtis, our guest Las Vegas advisor. New book coming out. What is it, in April, next month?
Yeah.
Then One Day, 40 Years of Bookmaking in Nevada by
Your boy,
Chris Andrews.
Chris Andrews, the main man here at South Point. And Chris put together a really fine book of stories. And it's not just that it's a memoir. It was originally called a memoir. I said, that's death. We're not going to call a book a memoir. You know, nobody wants to read a memoir, no matter who it is. But it's a story about bookmaking in Nevada and how things changed. I mean, Chris has done a lot of things, you know, working with back in the old days in the Stardust and Barbary and all that kind of stuff, to, you know, going up to Northern Nevada and booking, and then coming back to Vegas and booking here with some of the really big names. He's got some amazingly great stories. But what the book does is it takes you through a history of bookmaking, and it explains a lot of terms and a lot of things that the way bookies talk. Like, you know, you ever hear like a bookie and a gambler go, I'm going to go play the hockey. What does that mean, the hockey?
The hockey.
But that's how they talk. You know, I do good on the hockey. I'm not so good on the basketball.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
How many times have you heard that?
Uh-huh.
Right? So there's stuff like that explained throughout the book. And it's a really fun read. And Chris, damn, a boy can write. So
Good for him.
It's good. We're
to put this whole thing together.
Looking forward to it.
When is it going to be available exactly, and how can our listeners and viewers pick it up?
Well, it'll be immediately available at Amazon.
Okay, great.
And they can buy it at LasVegasAdvisor.com. But it should be available. It'll go to the printer in about a week, so it'll be back in April. And it's the first of, with all what's going on in sports betting, we've got about 9 or 10 books on sports betting in the hopper right now. And this is the first one. This leads it off. So it's a good one. People enjoy. Your listeners will enjoy reading it.
There you go. Again, it's called. Go ahead.
And Gil Alexander wrote the foreword.
Did he really?
Yeah.
All right.
And I didn't even know that till yesterday. Chris sent it back to me. I gave him his last read, and he goes, "What happened to Gil's foreword? You shit can it?" I go, I never saw it. And he sent it to me, and it was great.
That's
so we
great.
stuck it in. Yeah.
Again, it's called Then One Day by Chris Andrews, available in April. Gil, by the way, is coming up next. See ya.